Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, I'm Neha Vadone studying in class 11. So this video is going to be a Q&A session wherein I'll be answering to all the questions that I had received in the comment section for my previous video. So without wasting any time, let's get going. So the next question is from Harini. Please give some tips to study social science. Okay, so to be honest, social science was the subject I dreaded the most. I loathed that subject. It didn't even make sense to study the subject, but well, I had to study it until class 10th. I was just waiting for the day when I could give my SST finals and get relieved of the subject. But even though I hated it, I studied it and I had scored 100 in SST. So, how I used to study SST even after hating it so much was that mostly after reading the NCRT, I used to note down the main points. And if there were things like you have crops to remember in geography, so I used to make mnemonics for the crops, and that is how the mnemonics helped me a lot in remembering things. I remember this one mnemonic that I had made. It was something like the sesamum. It's a rabi crop in the south and it's a kharif crop in the north. I was getting confused about where it's rabi and where it's kharif. So I made this mnemonic called Neha Kakkar and Rohan Preet Singh. So Neha Kakkar, Neha stands for north and Kakkar, K stands for Kharif. So Neha Kakkar, it's in the north, the sesamum is Kharif, and Rohan Preet Singh, R for Rabi and S for South. So it's Rabi crop in the south. And this was one. And maybe there are some very predictable answer questions in SST. Like there's one question in history that describe the non-cooperation movement in the cities and town sites and all. So I would ask you that focus on these predictable questions. There was one question about waterways and pipelines. These are very important questions that might come up, so you need to practice these questions. But when it comes to remembering, I'd say that note down in points. Write the question and make points about it. Don't explain the whole thing while practicing, not in the exams. So while practicing, write short notes, like just say in one sentence. I'd like to answer for that question, describe the non-cooperation movement in cities. And usually while studying SST, what you need to do is you need to keep yourself in that place and see. Whenever you relate yourself to the the chapters in SST, you actually write the answers better. Now, Harini, think that you are a person in the British period, and now the British rule is around you. What would you feel? As an Indian, you would want to remove the Britishers out of the country, right? So in order to do that, you would give up on the government schools run by British. Probably your parents would quit their job from the British ruled offices, and the lawyers and all, they gave up from the government jobs. The goods and liquors were all boycotted because that feeling came in the Indians that now we have to support our country and not the Britishers anymore. So this is how you already got some 5 points here, and just explain it in 2-3 sentences. You have a 3-mark answer ready. And the adverse effects of this, like why didn't it become quite successful, is now again imagine yourself. You quit your school, your parents quit their job, and there were no lawyers and there was no goods that were coming. Now if there is no goods that's coming from Britain, then probably you'll have to wear something that's made in India. And what was made in India at that time? Khadi clothes. and khadi clothes were hand woven, so that's why they were expensive. Now you don't study, your parents don't have a job, and you have to buy expensive things. Do you think that's possible? No. So for that, what you did, you just went back to your previous routine again. You joined the school, your parents joined the job, and again the import started because that was cheaper. Now we humans do everything that's benefiting us. So, well, just by keeping yourself in the place, you already got the 5-mark answer for this. Why it started and why it didn't become successful. So for reading SST, I would suggest this is the only way. Write your answers in points. Don't try to make paragraphs. That's pretty useless. Points, describe in 2-3 lines. Around 5-6 points would be enough. Now the next question is again from Harini. How many hours did you study per day? Well, actually I had started my preparation quite early. So during 1 or 2 months before my exams, I was working quite hard. I was studying about 14 to 15 hours per day. Well, as the exams came near, I had prepared everything, so I was not very worried. I used to have proper sleep. Sometimes I slept throughout the day. And telling honestly, I am not a timetable person. I can never follow a timetable very honestly, because sometimes I am in the mood to study and sometimes I'm just not. So there are some days when I feel like going to bed and sleeping. I do that. I go and I sleep. I don't push myself to study at a time when my mind isn't working. But there are days when I am quite active, and that day I complete about 2-3 chapters at a go. So it depends on you, it depends on each and every individual. And I'd suggest that don't try to push yourself to study when your mind isn't allowing you to. Because even if you sit on the desk, keep the book in front of you, nothing is going to enter your mind. So at the times you feel like studying, don't waste your time and completely finish everything. But proper rest is also required. I'd say that now, since you all have around 1 month left, so this is the time you need to work hard. Spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day studying. There's no harm in that. But as the exams come nearer, I would say rest properly. If your mind is tired, believe me, no answers come in the mind. Once I had studied until 4 in the morning and came to school to give the exam. It was around like a pre-boards, I guess. And I did terribly in that exam because no answers were striking my mind. I was sleep deprived. My eyes were blinking. They were red. They were burning. I wasn't able to focus on my paper and didn't score as good as I could if I had slept properly. So that is why even during my board exams, what I used to do is I used to go to sleep at 9 in the night, wake up properly at 6:37, get ready and just go. And don't burden yourself to the extent where you burn yourself out, because that is of no use. Even if you study hard, if there's no use if you can't write it down in the exam. So if you can, study. If you can't, leave, rest, and then come back to the routine. So the next question is again from Harini. What was your score during pre-boards? Did pre-boards influence your board exam marks? How many sample papers did you solve for each subject? Okay, so talking about my pre-boards, as I mentioned earlier, I was already prepared beforehand. I didn't leave anything for the last moment. So since I was quite prepared for my board exams and my pre-boards, I scored well in all the exams. I had scored around 78 or 79 out of 80 in all the subjects. And yes, pre-boards are important, but they don't determine everything about you. Many of my friends didn't score very good in their pre-boards, but they did great in their board exams. So pre-boards are a way to test you and test your learning. So you always need to take that positively. And since I scored good marks in the pre-boards, I was confident that yes, I know the things well, and if I revise it once or twice, I'll do the same in the board exams as well. And since I was losing that 1 or 1.5 marks somewhere, I tried to recover that. And pre-boards gave me an opportunity to learn where I was going wrong and which topics I was getting stuck in. Now there are some particular 2-3 topics that we wish that they shouldn't come in the exams because we haven't read those properly. And I don't know how the bad luck follows us, and exactly those questions turned up in the exam. So I tried, there shouldn't be any such questions for me. And yes, they do affect your board exam marks because it affects your confidence level directly. And about the previous year questions, yes, I had solved 3 sets from the last 10 years. So the next question is tips for preparation of maths and social science. Will be maths standard exam easy or hard? How to deal with trigonometry? And last are all questions from NCRT. Okay, so tips for preparation of maths. I already hope that you have been practicing various questions throughout the year because that's what we had been made to do. We were practicing questions, and by the time of board exams, we had solved around 6,000 questions, I guess. We used to solve 10, 20, 30 questions every day. And yeah, so we had solved around 5,000-6,000 questions, and it was as if like there is no new question left. We had solved all types of questions. And you all might know that maths and physics are such subjects that revolve around formulas. So remember your formulas perfectly. If you know the formula, you can just substitute the numbers and solve it to get an answer. But even if you know how to solve something, you know what the data is, but you don't know the formula. What are you going to do in the exam? So keep everything aside, sit and make a formula book, write it with different colors, and practice the formulas day and night. Just even if someone makes you get up from sleep and asks you a formula, you should be able to say that. That is the level of preparation you need to have for maths formulas. Because seriously, like, everything revolves around formulas itself. If you know a single formula, numbers are provided in the exam. Take the numbers, put it in the formula, you have the answer. And social science, I've already said it before, so I won't be repeating. And will maths standard exam be hard or easy? Well, it depends on you. If you have prepared well, then everything is going to be easy for you. Even if I give you 2 into 2 and you don't know the tables, you will find that difficult. But for someone who knows it, it's very easy, right? So if you have prepared, then it's easy. So try solving all the questions from NCRT. That's the most basic thing that I'm repeating because it is very important. All the exercise questions, each and every exercise question, all the example questions provided in the NCRT, solve everything. Because maths, it doesn't have anything as such called new. Everything is derived from one type of the question or the other. So if you practice all the NCRT questions, exercise questions, example questions, reference book questions, you already know what type of questions are predictable. And if you know, like, there is a certain formula, it doesn't always happen that you get questions based on the exact formula. Sometimes you'll have to modify the formula. And if you know exactly what you're supposed to find, then you can modify it accordingly and solve. So it becomes very easy. And trigonometry. Well, what can I say about this? Trigonometry, it seems difficult, and there is one thing that we listen from our childhood: trigonometry, 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 very difficult. No, it's not difficult. There are fun ways to learn trigonometry, and even I'm pretty sure that your teachers are also teaching you some mnemonics to remember all the table, that t ratios table: sine theta, cos theta, tan theta. If you just know the table, what else is remaining in the trigonometry? Substituting, giving the answer. Well, right, it again depends on your mindset. If you keep on saying that trigonometry is hard, yes, it will become hard. But just trying yourself. There is nothing in trigonometry except few formulas and a table. That's all, right? If you're learning around some 80 chapters combining all your subjects, can't you learn just one single table which will give you all the marks in trigonometry? Well, there's no shortcut for learning things. Well, there can be short ways to learn. There can be mnemonics, there can be other short tricks to remember things, but nothing replaces hard work. You will have to sit and practice. You have 1 month left. That's quite a lot of time at your hands. So there are not just about maths, there are certain things like in physics you have a table in optics. Based on that you can solve many questions. So there are such important things, you need to recognize those and practice those. And again telling, there's no shortcut for those, you'll have to remember it. So since the time is exceeding too much, I'll be making a part 2 of this video. Please move on to that video for getting your answers. Thank you.